Hi, my name is Rob Klein. I have a wife and 3 children, and like many of you, I was very excited when Barack Obama announced that he was running for president. I thought it would be great to have a black man as president, a man who is talking about pulling us all together as a country. So I decided I would learn about Mr. Obama's policy positions, not the rumors and innuendo floating around, but the actual policies that he supports. Well, the more that I came to learn, the more horrified I was to discover that Mr. Obama's actual positions are incredibly divisive and would fundamentally eviscerate many of the freedoms we currently enjoy. In fact, a review of Mr. Obama's policy positions makes clear that he's a radical left-wing ideologue whose goal is no less than to remake our society into one which favors and disfavors people based on their status, based on whether you're black or white or Hispanic, a society in which the government would control all aspects of your personal life. Mr. Obama's program consists of 6 distinct policies, which when taken together will accomplish his radical remaking of our society. First, Mr. Obama favors a concept called comparable worth. Under comparable worth, a judge or a bureaucrat decides how much money you can make. The government will compare unrelated jobs to determine if they're comparable. If the government determines comparability, then the jobs must be paid the same. Compare, say, a nurse to a truck driver. Certainly a nurse's job is comparable in worth to a truck driver, right? What about a customer service rep compared to a secretary, or an accountant compared to a lawyer? The list is potentially endless. The point is that no longer will the free market determine a job's worth. Rather, like in the Soviet Union, the government will determine the worth of jobs and how much you are to make. Your skill and ability, job knowledge, or seniority are no longer relevant. A judge or some faceless bureaucrat will now determine what you make. The second leg of Mr. Obama's program is to ensure that everyone becomes unionized. That's because unions require everyone to be paid the same for a particular job. It won't matter anymore how hard you work in your job, or how well you're doing in your job, or the fact that you've been in your job for 20 years and someone else has only been in the job for 2 weeks. With a union, everyone gets paid the same. The result of combining comparable worth with unionization would be a flattening of people's pay throughout our country. In other words, the goal would be for everyone to earn the same. Mr. Obama accomplishes massive unionization by ending the right of employees to have secret ballot elections. You see, Mr. Obama doesn't trust workers with the right to a secret vote. About 75 years ago, when Congress allowed unionization, it wisely chose to require that there be a secret election to determine whether or not employees are to be unionized. That way, neither the company nor the union could put undue pressure on an employee, for only the employee and his or her maker would know how he or she voted. Mr. Obama now wants to scrap that process and instead require employees to overtly tell a union whether they are for it or against it. Obviously, this subjects employees to great pressure to sign up with the union. For woe to the employee who didn't sign up when the union comes around. I'm sure the union will exact its revenge because it will know exactly who was for it and exactly who was against it. The third prong of Mr. Obama's program is to stack the judiciary with judges that rule in favor of his programs. Mr. Obama has stated that he wants to appoint judges that, quote, have a heart, end of quote. He wants judges who will rule, quote, for affirmative action, end of quote. In other words, Mr. Obama will appoint judges who are going to rule based on their personal sympathies instead of the law. While the reason that justice is blindfolded is to prevent just that. A judge is not supposed to look at your status, whether you're white or black or rich or poor, but rather rule on the merits of your case and based on the rule of law. For centuries, the most fundamental tenet of our judicial system has been that all are equal under the law. Mr. Obama proposes destroying that most precious right of ours. The fourth prong of the program is to require a quota system for employment where your right to a job, your right to a promotion, and whether you will be terminated are based solely on the color of your skin. For Mr. Obama proposes that we enact a discrimination statute which encompasses a concept called disparate impact. This is where a company will be found to have discriminated if it doesn't hire enough of a particular group of people or hires too many of another group, even if the company had no discriminatory intent. The result of the decision becomes the key. The reason for the decision becomes irrelevant. So, if a company hired too many Hispanics relative to blacks, it would be discriminating, even if the company could articulate a legitimate business reason for not discriminating, such as that more Hispanics applied for the job than blacks, or that it had a 70-word-per-minute standard that those who were not hired did not meet. The same reasoning will apply to who is promoted and to who is to be laid off. No longer will your job performance, the quality of your work, or your seniority matter. Instead, under Mr. Obama's program, you will be favored or disfavored based solely on your status. Are you white? Are you black? Are you Hispanic? To me, as I am sure to most of you, that is an abhorrent concept. Most Americans believe that people should be judged on the content of their character, not on the color of their skin. Well, when I took a step back and considered all of the things Mr. Obama is proposing, it caused me grave concern. The fact that the rule of law would no longer be paramount, that people would be selected and retained for their jobs based on their status as opposed to how well they're doing in their job, that the government would dictate how much people must earn, that secret ballot elections would be eliminated and wages for all would be the same, regardless of how hard you work or your length of service in a job or how good a job you are doing. But it gets worse. The fifth prong of Mr. Obama's program is to have a massive tax increase. Currently, 10% of Americans pay 70% of the personal taxes that are collected. Mr. Obama thinks that is unfair, that these people don't pay enough, and they should pay even more. This raises two philosophical questions. The first is, how much of a burden can you place on fewer and fewer people to pay more and more taxes? The second question is a societal one, which is, how as a society can we make good decisions on how to spend our money if so few people have an economic interest in providing that money? The final prong of Mr. Obama's program is to destroy the concept of Social Security. Social Security originally was a program whereby people would work and pay a portion of their paycheck to the government, and when they retired, they would get back a retirement benefit. The amount you contributed was limited, and the amount you got back was limited. Over the years, the program morphed such that those that made more money contributed many multiples of what they ever could hope to receive in return once they retired. Mr. Obama does not think this is enough and proposes eliminating that contribution cap. This means that if you are a working stiff, you must pay 12.4% of your income to Social Security without any limit on this tax. It totally changes Social Security from a retirement program to a straight-up tax. And this would be the largest tax increase in the history of the United States. When combined with the increase in the personal tax rate, the federal government would tax most of the money that people earn. Across the world, over the past 25 years, anytime a country reduced its taxes, its economy expanded. Anytime a country increased taxes, its economy contracted. In the United States, it's been shown that over the last 60 years, regardless of the tax rate, whether it's low or high, the government collects about 19.5% of GDP. In other words, when taxes go up, the economy goes down. When taxes decrease, the economy goes up.